The Harbor Pilot by Travel 1609, a fictional story. He had been doing this job for 30 years, but he still loved it. He loved the thrill of guiding a massive ship through the narrow canals, the skill of maneuvering around the obstacles, the satisfaction of docking safely at the pier. He loved the view of the ocean, the breeze on his face, the smell of salt and diesel. He loved the camaraderie with his fellow pilots, the respect from the captains, the gratitude from the passengers. He loved being a harbor pilot. His name was Joe Wilson, and he was one of the best pilots in Fort Lauderdale. He had a reputation for being reliable, professional, and friendly. He knew every inch of the harbor, every current, every tide, every rock and buoy. He handled all kinds of ships, from cargo vessels to Navy destroyers, from yachts to oil tankers. But his favorites were the cruise ships. They were the floating cities full of life and luxury. But they were also some of the most challenging because they were so big and so delicate. One wrong move could cause a disaster. Today was a special day for Joe. He was piloting the Icon of the Seas, one of the newest and largest cruise ships in the world. It was a magnificent ship with 18 decks, 4 pools, 10 restaurants, a casino, a theater, a spa, and more than 5,000 passengers. It was also a personal ship for Joe because he knew the captain well. His name was Frank Fernando, and he was an old friend of Jack. They had met in the Navy where they were both officers. They served together on several missions and saved each other's lives more than once. They stayed in touch over the years and became like brothers. Boy, Joe was sure looking forward to seeing Frank again. He hadn't seen him in months since he had taken command of this new Royal Caribbean cruise ship. He had heard great things about him and the new ship. He was proud of Frank's success and happy for his opportunity. He also envied him a bit. Frank had always been adventurous, always seeking new horizons and experience. Frank traveled all over the world, seeing amazing places and people. He had a beautiful wife, 2 kids that adored him. He had a dream job that paid well and gave him lots of freedom. But Joe had a good life too. It was more modest and mundane. For the most part, he never left Fort Lauderdale. He married his high school sweetheart. He had a nice house, a comfortable pension. He and his job and his friends, he was content for what he had, but you know what? He wondered what else was out there. Joe pushed those thoughts aside as he boarded the pilot boat that would take him to the new Royal Caribbean ship. He greeted his colleagues with a smile and a joke. He checked his equipment and his radio, put on his sunglasses and hat. He was ready to go. The pilot boat sped across the water, leaving a white wake behind it. Joe felt a sense of excitement as he saw the Icon of the Seas looming on the horizon. It was an impressive sight, like a skyscraper. It dwarfed everything around it, even the other cruise ships that were docked or anchored nearby. Joe scanned the ship with his binoculars, looking for any signs of trouble or damage. Everything seemed fine. The ship looked clean and shiny with its white hull and blue funnel. The flags were flying high and proud, and the windows were sparkling in the sun. Joe smiled as he saw Frank standing on the bridge wing, waving at him. Jeff waved back and picked up his radio. "We're requesting permission to depart from berth 12, Joe said. "Permission granted, port control." "Thank you." He switched back to Frank's channel. "Captain, we have clearance to depart." "Roger that, pilot." Joe took the helm of the pilot boat. He steered alongside the Icon of the Seas, keeping a safe distance and a steady speed. He looked at the chart and his radar, plotting the best course out of the harbor. He had done this routine hundreds of times, but he never took it for granted. He knew every ship was different, every day was different, every situation was different. He knew he had to be alert and ready for anything. But today, he also had to be a teacher. He was not alone on this pilot boat. He had two trainees with him. They were learning the ropes of being a harbor pilot. They were young and eager, full of questions and enthusiasm. But they were also nervous and inexperienced, prone to mistakes and doubt. Joe had to guide them and correct them, encourage them and challenge them. He had to pass on his knowledge and wisdom, all his tips and tricks, his stories, and even his jokes. He had to prepare them for the day when they would take his place sometime. Jack was nearing retirement. He had only a few months left before he would hang up his hat and his binoculars for good. But he had mixed feelings about it. On one hand, he was looking forward to having more time to relax and enjoy life. On the other hand, he was dreading leaving behind his job, his friends, and his identity. He didn't know what he would do without them. He tried not to think about it too much. He wanted to focus on the present, on the task at hand, on the icon of the sea in front of him. He smiled as he saw the icon of the sea glide through the water, graceful and majestic. He admired its beauty and its power, and he felt a connection with the new ship and, of course, with its captain.